Let's all just agree it's too late for any Democrat to tell us Joe Biden's too old and is having issues of dementia and frailty. They're not allowed to play this game now. I'm sorry. The stories that are coming out are simply incredible. Not that Biden was stumbling around and that he had no idea what was going on, but the people who think that they are now truth tellers, after they were all the same people who were telling us that Joe Biden was absolutely fine, it is shameful. I mean, here the Daily Mail has got this story today. Aides to Joe Biden are revealing their concerns about how he was out of it and the lengths they had to go to in order to keep him looking presidential during his final years in the White House. Biden needed fluorescent tape fixed to the carpet to show him where to walk at events. That way the octogenarian would know where to go without having an aide guide him. One top aide said the president was so out of it during preparation for his now infamous debate with Donald Trump that he thought he was president of NATO rather than the United States. President of NATO. They ran this guy. He was president until January, just a couple of months ago. I've been telling you, not just me, many of us have been telling you for years, and I know you know, and I know we all agree, we understand this, but think about it. We all knew. This guy, this is the old, it's not just the emperor has no clothes, the emperor has no brain. He was supposed to be running the most powerful, sophisticated, wealthy country in the history of the world, and he didn't even know who he was or where he was. Couldn't even get off stage by himself. And now Democrats want to play this game of, oh my gosh, it's so crazy what happened. No, I'm sorry. You don't get to put books out now and be the truth-telling aide from the Democrat side. No, they all lied. They all went along with this. They're shameful, and we see them for exactly who they are. Now that power is no longer possible for them, now that it's no longer a reality that Joe Biden is in any way valuable to the Democrat Party, they're going to tell us the truth. Now, I understand. You know what they're going to do? They're going to do at this point? They're going to say, Joe Biden, is not president anymore, and so why are you focused on this? Trump's tariffs. Let's all panic about Trump's tariffs. Hold on a second. I'm sick of them getting away with this to the degree that they do, where they lie and lie and lie, and then they refuse, even when the truth comes out, to admit the truth publicly. And then when it's too much and it's too obvious and the weight of the lie becomes too much for them to bear politically anymore, they go, why are you still talking about this? Right? It's just the delay game with them all the time. Why are you still talking? Why are you so focused on this? Why are you doing this? Well, we know why. Because it's important that the truth come out and that they are forced into the humiliating position of having everyone look at them and say, so you lied to all of us. And the Democrats and the Biden regime lied to all of us, even though we knew they were lying. They knew that we knew that they were lying, and they kept doing it anyway. And what does that tell you about the lack of respect that the Democrat Party has for the American people? What does that tell you about what else they're willing to do and lie about in order to promote power of Democrats in office and to pursue their anti-Western civilization, collectivist, communist agenda? And I know that, we're not communists. You know what's really interesting? Even when Mao was taking over in communist China, or what became communist China, I should say, there were moments where, to fool the Americans, because you go back to the Chinese Civil War, you go into the late 1940s period, and you have Mao, and and it's a fascinating story, by the way, about how Mao became the leader of modern China. He was really a puppet of the Kremlin and the Soviets and Stalin, and they backed him. It was all just an infection of communism from the Soviet Union that spread into China. It's exactly what happened. And when Mao is at the point where he's trying to play the game to get the U.S. to do what he wants, and this is after the Japanese surrender. The Japanese come in with the invasion. which throws Chiang Kai-shek and Mao into a whole different era, basically saves Mao, because now Chiang actually fought the Japanese. Mao did not. Anyway, it's a fascinating story, but my point is Mao would tell they tried to play games with, don't say communist when you talk to the Americans, say democracy. Say Democrats. Say democracy. And people wonder what happened to the American Communist Party in this country. It just got folded into the Democrat Party. There really is not much mystery when you see that in the early 20th century, when communism was ascendant because of the supposed failures of capitalism through the Great Depression, that's something that was very powerful on the world stage. Is that, capitalism has failed, communism is the answer. You go into the 1930s, and this is something that's not only obviously the mantra in the Soviet Union, but also in the United States. There's a major American Communist Party, and what was the guy? I think it was Eugene. Was it Eugene Debs, who was running? Was that right? Let me see. No, Eugene Debs motivated the American left to organize political opposition to corporations in World War I. Anyway, we had somebody run for the American communist chairman of the Socialist Party of America. I was just checking. Yeah, the guy's a communist. Okay, so yeah, there were communists in this country, and they were pointing to that what they said was the failure of capitalism via the Great Depression. But then all of a sudden, communism falls out of favor because people realize that it's a totalitarian religion of destruction and hell, and it's really not actually scientific or even economic in scope. It's a spiritual. Communism is a spiritual defect, and you have to see it that way to really understand it. There's something deeply wrong with the soul of the communist. I mean, as an individual, and that's why they adhere to it, and that's why they believe in it. There's a delusion that is central to communist belief, but yeah, they just became parts of they became the Socialist Party of America, and then the socialists folded themselves in the Democrat Party. But there's still many of the same beliefs, and there's still this hope that they can transform America into something very different from what it is. And they're trying to break down, as I say, they kick at the load-bearing walls of our civilization. They're trying to break it down. And I just think that when you see the elevation of the puppet Biden to the level at which he was able to, he didn't fool us. That's the thing. He didn't fool us. It's just he was foisted on us. But that party, that Democrat Party, is capable of anything. There's nothing that they won't do. There's nothing that they won't say. And COVID was another time where you really saw this. But I just have to say, now they're coming forward and telling us, Biden, he couldn't, he couldn't walk, and he didn't know where he was, and he didn't know who he was, and everything else. If there was a single solitary patriot among the senior White House staff, they would have come forward and said, guys, we need to invoke the 25th Amendment. We need to remove this guy. And there would have been a real basis for it. Not I don't like him. It's his eggs are scrambled. His brain is scrambled eggs. They wouldn't do it, though, because power is more important. You really get a window into the soul of the Democrat Party over this, and they have not changed one bit. They have not reformed. There is nothing different about them now. So you have been shown who they are. You have been shown what they are, and you have to keep that in mind going forward. You have to remember this because they are capable of basically anything, and it's pretty scary. I know. I wish it was not the case, but it is, and it's something that I want you all to be well reminded of. The fight for life is ongoing, day in and day out, and on the front lines of it, Preborn. Preborn has a network of clinics across the nation who have a very simple but profoundly important mission, which is to save the lives of as many tiny babies as they possibly can. And they do this by putting their clinics in areas of the country where abortion rates are highest and offering women an alternative to abortion with love and care and support. Now, this process usually starts with an ultrasound because once mom sees that tiny heartbeat, she knows the choice here has to be for life. But Preborn needs your help in this mission. They get no government funding. All you have to do and what you can do right now to help them is go to preborn.com/buck. That's preborn.com/buck. patreon.com/BUCK. Consider donating $28 a month to be a sponsor for Preborn's incredibly important network, saving lives day in and day out. You know, I went on Fox earlier this morning. You can check it out. I shared it on X, talking about the surge in applications to the FBI, which I love. And this is great, right? Because you know that Top Gun, the movie Top Gun, rest in peace, Iceman, the movie Top Gun increased applications to, I think it was the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy by like 10 to 20% right after the movie came out. Just a surge in interest because we were like, wow, this is cool. Being a naval aviator, being the Top Gun program, or just flying fighter jets. That looks like a cool job to have. And it matters so much what time period you're looking at these different agencies. FBI is getting a surge right now because if you're a patriot and you're an alpha male or an alpha female, and you want to get bad guys and you want to protect good people, you know that going to an FBI run by Kash Patel and Dan Bongino is going to be a place where that's actually the mission and the focus, or at least they're creating that as the mission and the focus. They're turning it around into that. And it reminds me when I was in the CIA, people say, oh, Buck, how could you work at the CIA? And the recent clown show directors that the CIA has had under Biden and all the political stuff against Trump. And I go, hold on, guys. The CIA in 2002, 2003, 2004, remember, I got recruited in 2004, so just a couple of years after 9/11. We had the Iraq War going on, Afghanistan War going on, overseas kinetic operations against Al-Qaeda targets all over the place. You know, places you know about, places you don't know about. And they had so many applications coming in there. It was a fire hose. I mean, and I know this because I had friends who worked in the HR, who were doing recruiting and worked in the HR part of the agency. And there were people like me who, I mean, not to pat myself on the back, could have gotten a job anywhere and done anything. And it was, I want to go do this. And think about how already at the FBI now we're seeing a huge spike in applications to the FBI. And it's because people look at it and you go to these places for the mission. You go to these places to serve and to do things that matter. I know those who serve in the military, you know this backwards and forwards. But when you're talking about these federal agencies, it's possible to make them really worthwhile places that do excellent work, but they've just fallen away from that. They've become weapons of politics. They've become full of DEI garbage and the trans agenda and all this other lunacy, gender identity politics, all this stuff. But you don't want people who go into the FBI for any of those reasons. And you don't want anyone to rise up if they're already in the FBI for those reasons. You want people who go, I want to serve and protect. I want to be a force for good in my country and protect people who can't protect themselves and to punish those who do evil to their fellow people, whether, they're ripping them off of their life savings or they're, doing, child trafficking, international gang activity, whatever it is. You want people to go to the FBI for that reason. And I think you're seeing that now again. And I think that just goes to show you how powerful the change in leadership is and how meaningful it is to have the right people in charge of these places. Now, I know Border Patrol, the esprit de corps of Border Patrol is so much better now because, and by the way, they're not overwhelmed because there are not all these illegals piling over the border. But now they can really focus on doing the job, which is stopping people who are really bad people from bringing fentanyl into the country and killing people and destroying families. They can focus on the real mission now. Isn't that so great? Isn't this really what we want to see? Of course. So anyway, I remain very optimistic. Don't listen to the haters and the losers, as Trump would say. Oh, terrorists, whatever. Look, nothing is there's no great progress without some pain, without some struggle. We all know that. And that's something that we're going to see here a little bit, but we're going to get through it to the other side. It's all going to be fine. I'm going to be in Arizona tomorrow, so I'll talk to you guys again on Monday. Shields high. Israeli citizens look for the return of normalcy in their country. It's hard to do when there's ceasefire negotiations happening, when there's increased tensions between Hamas and the IDF forces. Nearly 18 months after the Hamas invasion and brutal attack, life is not normal for everyone in Israel. As Israelis work hard to return to a life of normalcy, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has continued to support those in the Holy Land facing the lingering horrors of war and those who are in desperate need. Your ongoing monthly gift of $45 will provide critically needed aid to communities in the north and south parts of Israel devastated by the ongoing war. Your generous donation each month will help deliver to those in need. You can provide hope during a time of great uncertainty with your gift. Bless Israel and her people by visiting supportifcj.org. That's one word, supportifcj.org, or call 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ.